We are. This is Beyond the Pendulum, episode 42. Um, I don't. I don't know. I'm still on my hiatus from social media, and then kind of to the point where like I'm starting to wonder if there's any benefit to staying on social media. There's only a few websites that I kind of gravitate to, but as far as like like going on with what's in the world, I'm pretty much doing it old school. It's radio, podcasts, and almost nothing on video. I started to notice trying to get my news through the videos or streamcasting, and noticing it's just more entertainment than it is news. There's not. I could care less. I could care less about some kids, protesting a war that they'll never see. I could really care less. Did you hear about the whole thing in UCLA this week?
Oh yeah, well USC they just pushed them out of UT Austin.
Oh yeah, not the one at USC, the one at UCLA. Yeah, like I know that whole area. The kids they didn't even like when they were questioned. They didn't even know what the fuck they were even. They wanted the school. They were protesting a war that they'll never get involved with. They wanted the school to tell them how much they're investing into endowment funds. Like they didn't even know what the fuck they were even doing. They were just there just to cause problems. At UCLA. It was like that. It was like you're yelling and you're protesting. You don't even know what you're doing. Like.
Well, they need to be more informed. I mean, that's well. I mean, I remember how I was at 18 years old. Or 18 to 20. I mean, you're very idealistic and you don't really know all the nuances of everything. But they're going to learn. They are learning the big lesson. It's like every time you exercise your rights, this is what happens. You get the boot of the law in your face.
Well,
That's what
yeah.
happened.
Well, yeah, and they didn't even they wanted the school to disclose how all the tallies that they had and they were involved with Israel, and I'm like here I am thinking, this is not and everything that you guys are doing and not to put a dent in any of this shit that's going on overseas. You want to go like I hate to say this, like you want to go make a difference. Go where go. Go to the source because you're not doing anything over here. Really, you're not.
Yeah, it's amazing how the perspective has changed.
Yeah, I used to do. I don't know. I grew up with like the old school, illegal activists. That would do a direct response no matter the cost. And it's whether it's corporate espionage or whatever, but activism.
Well, this is. I mean, at the same time, but what they're. You see the organization that's going on here. They're merging this. BLM and Antifa kind of merging with like a new group of protest. It's interesting in a way. It's there's an organization there that and a tie that I'm kind of surprised of.
Me too.
But if but at the same time, my problem with it is that like say at UT Austin, it's a state school.
Yeah.
And it's open to the public and citizen funded. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they're kicking, and I know that area because I went to school there. There's this giant, two sidewalks, and you got this giant grassy area in the center, and they're kicking all the kids out of the grassy area, and it's like, well, what the hell? It's funny because the Texas governor can't even, cite the law that's getting broken.
Yeah.
Because there is no, I mean, they really, it's just exposing everybody. I find it real interesting, and I'm kind of on the side of the protesters, even though they might be wrong and not knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's
like, well,
yeah,
it's like, what's the big deal? It's like, why do you need these thug cops there to stomp their face? I just don't get it.
I don't know.
The whole thing's retarded. I mean,
that's what I thought. The whole thing was just not well thought out and was retarded.
It's just.
And
Yeah,
then like the whole shit that
up.
happened, yeah, the thing that happened in Colombia where they broke into like a thing and said they liberated the thing. But I'm like, dude, what'd you liberate? Like, what do you think? What is it? It's like Mario. Laura, I'm doing a podcast. Nagora. Nagora. I'm doing a podcast. Thank you. But yeah, it gets to the point where it gets ridiculous, and I'm just to the point where like, why is this even news? Like they were protesting in Standing Rock for like almost a year and a half. Nobody, and there was more people than there was in all.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal. I mean, I have to say, but it was a big event. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, having been there. But the coverage it got, and kind of the historical aspect is it was really lost among most people. That's the sad part of it. But that's true of most things. They just most people don't give a shit about Indian issues.
Yeah.
Natives, they just like they could care less. It's just, and in a way, really any group gets marginalized like that. I mean, I can attest to that. With my activities, it's just part of the game. If you're an activist and on the fringe, you can expect pushback. It's just doesn't matter who you are.
Exactly.
Even if you're in the UFO Discovery Committee,
I do.
Trying to figure out what's going on there. It doesn't matter what the issue is with this government.
Yeah.
We got to hide and lie and.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a bunch of stuff that came out of. Like, speaking of the UFO stuff, there's a bunch of stuff that came out of the UFO. This UFO. Sorry, I have a 1-year-old. Yeah. Can you please hold on a second? Sorry. Thanks.
So what is this Kona Blue?
Yeah. So the Kona Blue. Yeah. So the Kona Blue was some really. This is the thing that pisses me off about Kona Blue. Sorry, my wife just decided to come in here with a kid, and I told her I had a show today. And of course, what do they do? And they come in here, start playing. But anyway, Kona Blue. Kona Blue was the. It was a. So like when DHS became a new agency, the new kid on the block, and got some wind of SAPs, and there are things flying in the fucking sky that we don't know what the fuck they are. The old director of the original director of the Department of Homeland Security was like, I want in, right? So Kona Blue was a proposal to studying UAP and everything from remote viewing, anything that you could think of, like Bigfoot, blah blah blah. Not Bigfoot, literally, but there was a lot of stuff in there, and it did go into remote viewing and stuff like that. And it's people, if without knowing any contents of reference, Kona Blue was a proposal. It never got off the ground. Now, Arrow just released this like not even like a month ago. I'm not sure if he covered on the other show, but here's the thing, is that Sean Kirkpatrick, the old director of Arrow, when he was interviewing some of these whistleblowers that came to them, he basically thanked them and was saying that it's all related to this bullshit. It's all related out of rumors and bullshit around whatever this Kona Blue thing was. It was never even a real program. And don't get me wrong. I don't know how the average idiot can like put those two together if it was never a real program. There's no real substance to what they're saying. There was like a bunch of shit that happened. But like, here's some weird thing about Sean Kirkpatrick. Sean Kirkpatrick at the beginning of Arrow was actually, I believe, on our side. I believe that he was on our side, and there were actual things coming out. But somebody said, "Oh no, guess what? This is the perfect way to plug our leaks within our own system. So everybody that goes to Arrow has been a whistleblower to our leaks that are going on in our SAPs, making them look stupid, not investigating anything, only writing reports on things that they know what they are, but they won't disclose what the things that they don't know that they are. And I actually have one of the incidences that Matt Gaetz is also knowing about, but with that, I'll talk about it in a little bit. But so Project Arrow is not an agency in the favor of anybody. It's a money waster. It only has two purposes: to discredit observers, right? Number two is to satisfy the concerns of Congress. But other than reporting and compiling other shit, I'm pretty sure there are other special access programs that are doing that, and these collection and retrieval agencies or groups are still out there doing what they were doing before. They just stovepiped it again. But what I'm saying is that Arrow is Project Blue Book 2.0 on steroids. If you are in the service, do not go to them. Go directly to Congress. You're just going to throw your career in the trash if you go to Arrow. I hate to say it, but they created an agency that is basically a career seppuku. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen this in the corporate world is, they would set up like these comment lines, or we refer to them like snitch lines, because they wanted to, like, that was their first clue that something was wrong, and then they engage cover up and cover mode. Mm-hmm. That's how that works.
Yeah, that's basically what's happening. They're not, and like there's like another incident I'm going to get into. Do you remember about this time? Oh, last summer when we had those hearings and Matt Gaetz was talking about an incident that happened at an Air Force base that they were trying to get information on. I think it was Elgin in Ohio.
I don't remember that particular part of it now.
Oh, okay. Hold on 1 second. I know, I got a boo-boo. 1 second.
I'm going to look that up for while you're...
Yeah. It's on the Arrow website. It's a new report. But, so what's going on is that the, No. So Matt Gaetz and like the what we call the UAP caucus was trying to get information about this incident that some whistleblower had told Matt Gaetz about. Turns out the pilot was able to take a picture of this thing and was able to go around it. It was some silver object that was like a sphere and a cube or whatever. And was giving out, actually, no, it wasn't a sphere and a cube, that's something else. It was more shaped like an egg, and it was a silver egg, and it was giving off heat exhaust, and they think that it might have had some sort of jet in the back because it was giving air distortion. And the thing was, they thought it was stationary, but like when it descended into the cloud basin, it wasn't stationary, and it disarmed like the targeting system, which would have raised red flags, but that circuit breaker is broken on that one Cornero. I probably believe it, but they've had malfunctions on the targeting system with that specific airplane that was in the report. But there were other systems that were breaking as well. And the pilot had to go into manual mode on a lot of his stuff. So what I'm saying is that the Arrow thought that this object, and they moderately confirmed that it was It was an air balloon. It was one of those what do you call it? In movies, they have these what are called industrial lighting balloons, which they use for movies, and they said it was one of those that had escaped. Was an industrial lighting balloon that had escaped. But how do you get the heat distortion? And then they asked,
Well, they love that. They seem to love that balloon story, whether it's a silvery balloon or Air Force loves these balloon stories, man.
yeah, and it was like they were saying it was one of the manufacturers of one of these, and they said they haven't, and the manufacturer says they haven't lost one, not one. You know, so
Well, they wouldn't lie to you, would they?
it's you know what's funny is that everything that Arrow has pumped out after its first report has been nothing but half-assed and obvious grammatical errors. I'm almost surprised that like it's kind of like when a kid does his homework assignment at the last second and he did. That's all Arrow does. That's all they do. They don't even cross-reference. They don't even fucking proofread their shit. Like everything that they pumped out has been completely inaccurate. Even the historical review was absurd. You know,
Hmm.
the
I
historical.
don't know. I mean, that thing with Gates. I mean, I'm looking at the article here. I mean, it's like you say, the targeting systems. That's I guess that was the biggest part of that. But they don't have any pictures or anything of it.
Well, there was a picture. There absolutely was a picture. The pilot actually had to get the camera system because the camera system wasn't engaging in auto, so he had to manually take a picture. There was a picture. That's the thing. And that's the thing that's classified. And that's the part about the report that totally disproves about what the fuck they were saying. And there was a bunch of other stuff that didn't make any sense in the report. Like, this is an Air Force, right? Air Force constantly, in every Air Force report, when it involves anything that's in the air, they will also provide wind conditions, atmospheric pressure, humidity, visibility. It's standard stuff that you would use, and none of that was in the report. Like none of that, none of it. Like as though it was not that it was relevant, but you can tell that somebody just kind of just like threw spaghetti at the wall, and maybe if it fits, then it'll work. But I think that they fucking said it was they said it was a balloon, and the fighter pilot doesn't know what the fuck he was saying. I'm sorry, but I've had mentally handicapped people describe stuff to me, and it's like there is nothing wrong with the observer. There is a problem with the cover up because their lives are getting retarded. Like it's almost as bad as like when before Project Blue Book became Project Blue Book, it was a Project Grudge, and Blue Book Grudge was the real deal, and Blue Book was for the public. But right right when Blue Book like first started out, they would strong arm the people and making them all think that they were chasing fucking Venus, you know, or they were looking at swamp gas or ball lightning, which we still haven't caught on camera. They don't even they
Yeah,
don't even,
that's a classic gaslighting technique. You make you doubt what you saw. That's like the first thing. See if they can kind of break you there. To start doubting yourself and just going away. They're just trying to get rid of you. Put out a crappy report, put out a bunch of nonsense, make you look like a fool. Make you think you didn't see what you see. It's just nonsense.
Yeah, it's getting more ridiculous. Even one of the head skeptics online, Twitter, he's a video game programmer, Mick West, said it was that's not it's not a balloon. Like that's not that's probably they said it. He said it was probably not a balloon. Mick West probably thinks it's something else, but it's not a balloon.
Yeah, that's the only thing we're getting is the dribble, the slow drip, which is what you've been getting for years.
Yeah,
I have to say, if it seems to take years, you might get a, what I'm getting out of all of this is that their their targeting systems and the cameras are actually picking this stuff up. That's number one. Because now
yeah,
you're getting enough videos to show that it's like, okay, these guys are seeing these things, they are targeting them, and picking them up and all that. That's one thing. So you can, from that you can extrapolate a lot. Even if they're lying to you, they've
yeah.
given you that much information. And then one of those guys was saying that we see these things every day. So this is going on all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now they may not be telling you, but just from a few facts like that, you can tell what's going on
Oh yeah.
if you read
Want you
into
to
it.
look the other way, and there's actually, believe it or not, I think I put in the show notes that it's no mystery that the other armed forces have been kind of more open than two organizations that have been tight-lipped since the beginning, and these are the two culprits: the DIA, Department of Energy, or what's the DIA? Well,
And defense intelligence, the military intelligence,
yeah, DIA. Sorry,
yeah,
DIA, Air Force, and Department of Energy. Those three are the three organizations that know what the fuck is going on, that have been tight-lipped. And even from we know from James Lakatsky, we know that they have recovered shit. And we also know that Lockheed, from what I heard today, Lockheed actually wanted to get rid of their shit. They didn't want it anymore. They were actually wanting to get rid of it when the whole Bass program was going on, when they were gonna go get the materials, when Bob Bigelow built that $1 million facility. He they Lockheed wanted to get rid of all that shit, probably because they couldn't figure out how to fucking use it.
yeah. It's just if the technology's too far ahead, what are you going to use? You're going to pull out your wrenches, and fix what? Start pulling what apart? You don't even know
Exactly.
how you don't even know how it's built or anything. Just yeah, I mean, it could be so far advanced you don't even get it. Or it requires it's like symbiotically built, with the crafts pilot and the machine is one. It's like a keyed system in a way. And if he's not there, well, it's just not going to start up and do jack shit.
Well, I've also heard of a weird theory where there might be object. This sounds so strange. So, remember I showed you in the show notes about a parallel universe? Well, what if there was the same object? How should I say this? There's a weird theory that you could create anti-gravity and all these weird properties by building another machine in a parallel universe and somehow coercing its spatial object, where it would be in the neighboring universe that would have the opposite properties of the other one. We could be dealing with something really off the wall, higher dimensional, not definitely not lower dimensional, because that wouldn't make any sense. But we are dealing probably with something that is higher dimensional and dealing with matter that is very exotic or not exotic. I mean, it could all be conscious based technology.
Yeah, my problem with all this like exotic matter is, maybe you could recreate, some updated, isotope or whatever, something we've already have. I kind of doubt that. It seems like we would have gotten there already. But it's like getting you to this next element that's stable, because it looks like they're going to be all radioactive up, for like another 20 elements or so. I mean, it's just like I just don't see how you get there. That it's hard enough to create these other ones. I don't see how you get to the next new stable element that might have some property
Well, that's
that
what I'm
gets you
saying.
where
That's what I'm
and
saying. There might be elements, there might be matter that they have that don't come from this, you know, don't come
from this universe.
from this universe. Like we're talking
Yeah.
negative mass matter,
Oh man.
stable antimatter. Stuff that doesn't the stuff that doesn't come stuff that doesn't exist in this universe because it isn't from this universe. That and
I don't know that I don't think it could survive here. It
it
seems like
might
once
not. Yeah, it might.
you would try to transfer it into the new universe. Everything's different. It wouldn't even. It would just like fall apart or
And
blow up or
that
something.
yeah, that might be possible. But like even space is like is a thing. As far as we know, it is a four dimensional object. But there's debate on what it actually is. But
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, the people are really starting to question, like, the basics of some of like the fundamental forces, and what they've called them. It's just like, what exactly are we looking at here? Is this what we even thought it was? Like saying in the case of gravity,
well, yeah,
you can't
there's
find a particle. It's just got a lot of problems there, and it's just like, well, what's the problem?
well, the problem is that
We can't explain what's going on. It's just,
well, that's the thing is that I think that our fundamental I think that what I've been told over the years studying this stuff might though maybe what Bob said might have been true, but I don't think what he thinks is 100%. There's two gravitational forces we call it gravity A and gravity B. He was saying gravity A is the traditional bending of space, and gravity B would be a kind of a hack around it by using these smaller gravity and using amplifiers. Some sort of a fucking hack, which would work. But there are people that think that gravity is a higher dimensional object, like a fifth dimensional object, or it doesn't. Its actual particle might exist in some other higher spacious realm, but like there's other things that we don't even know about physics. Like we don't understand the properties of matter under extreme conditions. Like we don't understand what is happening to the hydrogen that is happening in in Jupiter, how it's a liquid metal. Like I have a feel. I think I know what's going on if you don't make it so complicated, so fucking complicated. But the actual what is going on is probably really fucking complicated. But if you can imagine everything that makes up this reality at its finest form, and you start compressing it, it starts to have different properties. Like at the beginning of the Big Bang, there was no light. Not that there wasn't being light emitted. It was just that the electrons
well,
were just
yeah, the
close
fundamental
together. That
forces weren't.
yeah,
The fundamental forces weren't even there yet.
yeah.
It was
So
too hot and too dense and all the rest of it. Whatever the cork blew on, plasma or whatever it was,
essentially, the leading theory now is that there was so many electrons close together that there was no possible way to make light. So
correct. Yeah, light came after what was it, 300,000 years or something. It had to cool to a certain point, so you started to get some of the first particles, so that you could then create the photon and all that.
yeah, I believe that the early universe was probably only really
Dark,
well, yeah, and it only
hot and dark. That's
hot and dark and full of only subatomic particles.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And you think it could be that hot, and yet there was no light or anything. That's just
Oh yeah,
well, that's the thing. It's like how do you explain a space like that? That's very different from the space we're used to, and yet it existed that way at some point. And the physics are all different. I mean, actually, the physics didn't even exist yet. So how do you explain that? It's just you get to a point where it's very hard to explain.
it is and it isn't. It's like
And you
that.
can only take it back so far.
I've
Kind
heard
of know that.
I've heard Stephen Hawking saying about this argument before, and I have always kind of thought that it's kind of poppycock. I think that there is a fundamental. Once you get to the Planck length, there probably is. At the smallest level, there probably is subatomic particle that does make up everything, and these the properties of it are predetermined already. But that I don't think that the properties of this universe will develop differently based off of. I think the only time you're going to get the opposite or different properties of the way this physical universe works is if there's a parallel anti-universe. That would be the only thing. That's the only thing that makes logical sense, even in quantum physics. The only thing about quantum physics that doesn't make any sense to me is there's positive and negative, and then there's positive and negative, which is the same, which it can be on and off at the same time.
Oh, the quantum states. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
well, there's
yeah.
like, in theory, infinite quantum states, but for like computer needs, you got to set a certain number of them, so you have some point in figuring out. It's just, I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't, this new quantum computing and all that. I'm struggling to kind of understand it.
I'm I'm the same way until I have somebody. I'm actually gonna do a deep dive on that next, probably tonight, on like what this thing is actually capable of doing, because now we're getting into the there is some concern on the. I don't know how much you're into computers, but we're actually reaching an upper limit of the processing power and physical matter is on.
Hmm.
We're able to like print stuff up to 3 atoms, and that's about the maximum. And there is another technology that is out there using graphene, graphene instead of silicon. But the problem with graphene is that it's not a good transistor because it doesn't have the real on and off switching that you can do for logic, logic and processing on 0 1 0 1. The new thing is graphene because you can print stuff at like 2 microns or 2 atoms thick, and zero, almost zero resistance. The thing is that to get it to function like a processor, you need to what's called a bypass, which is like a secondary system to do the on and the off. But the quantum, like when you start getting into big number crunching and like servers, that you do when you're dealing with large data sets, there are real purposes for this kind of technology, but it's not for like running your Windows. We're talking compiling code, searching
Well, yeah, like mass simulations,
yes, something.
astrophysical simulations.
So yeah, something very, very,
Yeah.
very dynamic and large data sets. Yeah, something along those lines. And I'm sorry, your now AI GPU hacked device that is trying to pump out a few more megahertz. I'm not gonna say gigahertz because you won't never get a gigahertz even using AI in there. You're still running into these weird limits, and then you have all these heat issues. I think graphene will probably be the future, but even Intel is running into problems with their hyperthreading. So we are running into problems with the physics, and now they delayed the they delayed whatever the hyperthreading limit with Intel on their higher end chips by they're doing the same thing other ones by integrating artificial intelligence to help with the processing. But that's only delaying the inevitable. And I've also heard about photonic chips using lasers. I can tell you one thing, that working with laser technology and like a bunch of the kiddos I haven't been around long enough to know about the problems. It has a ton of problems. Anything that is photonic is fucking error prone. It's just moving or not moving. Like it doesn't matter if it's spinning or not. Like laser anything is not good. It's not good for anything in computers. I'm sorry. It wasn't CDs weren't good. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna use a pulsating because we use lasers for the high end fiber cable, but other than that, like I just don't see. I just don't see it like in a computer. Like I just these photonic chips are like might as well be fantasy land because it's gonna get hot as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've seen, where they have fired uh, transistors with like one electron. I mean, but at the same time, it's like, okay, that's about the limit, right? I mean, you have to, you can't, you have to have at least one to fire the thing. So that's the limit. You're, I don't think you can keep Moore's law going. That's
No,
what's coming up. There's no way to keep going at 20% a year indefinitely. There's just no way.
yeah, Moore's law didn't account for the physical limitations of the materials we're working with, and it's starting to look like we're gonna have to move on to something else, and something else has been out there. It's just picking the right technology is the issue, and I don't know. I'm more into this hardware kind of hacking and techno. Well, the I pretty much have to be on top of it working in my field. But yeah, we are running into these upper limits, especially with these large supercomputers.
Yeah, I still question, exactly, how much computing power do you really need? Like you say, to run Windows and a browser, what do you really need to do that? You know,
Well,
you know,
yeah, I mean, most of these supercomputers aren't even running Windows. They're running a lot of its terminal-based programs or something really really low on like Linux like Ubuntu or any other or Debian. Any version of Debian's great. Like it runs on almost minimal amount of RAM. We've actually sput like in the last 5 years. I have seen 6 years actually. I've seen the storage technology get better. That's improved. So have transfer rates. Like we got rid of all of the spinning hard drives. We even fucking got rid of SSDs. Those things were bad. Now we're using all M.2. Basically just
really?
rinsed it. Yeah,
Huh.
we're all using M.2 or NVMe, which should have been like the technology was there to begin with. They just nobody was building it. Nobody was thinking about like these these weird limiting factors of computers is was when not is was the storage technology. Like SSDs are great, but they're not super fast by these NVMe M.2s. You've seen them, right? They look like little RAM chips.
Right, yeah, or memory boards, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We just put those things with a little tiny screw back on the motherboard, and off you go. Those things are like 10 times faster than an SSD.
Well, isn't that basically, I mean, an SSD, wasn't that just basically memory, maybe a different style of memory, but it was
It's
solid state. I mean,
it was yeah it was solid state. I don't know the physics on the M.2, but I do know a little bit about the physics in SSD because that's when I was still in college and studying the storage technology. Was it's more like having a bunch of little memory cells in there on a grid system, and at least that's how they were back then. I don't. That was like fucking 20 years ago now. And I'm pretty sure they've evolved. The SSD technologies evolved since then, but they were prone to SSD's problem was that they only have a maximum amount of times you can write to them, and I don't know what would cause it. It's probably due to the excessive voltages going across the material. But yeah, there were limitations on how many times you can write onto an SSD and other stuff. But NVMe too is like probably the way to go. But processors, us in the tech field are just trying to find out a new way. Is it? Oh, analog chips have come into the analog chips have come into the discussion too. We can actually make low powered analog chips for a fraction of the cost, and they believe that that is probably the future for processors for artificial intelligence, and they use like 1/10 the power.
Back to analog. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, it used to be, back in my day, I saw a lot of the analog drives. It was in the early '90s when they started switching over to like digital drives and that sort of stuff, and because the speeds weren't up there yet. And then now here you're going back to the analog technology.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah. There are problems with like I don't know.
Well, there's delays in digital systems that analog systems don't have.
Yeah, there
It's
are.
pretty much instantaneous. Now there might be errors because it's that the analog, but if you tweak all that out, you have a faster responding analog system, and that's why digital systems had a hard time, until like the '90s when the speeds got up enough that they could actually perform like the old digital or the old analog drives.
Yeah, the problem with analog, and I give it like the MP3. The MP3 thing is like you have like what we used to call WMA, which is uncompressed audio, similar to what you would actually get into like on a record or wave file. Even waves are fully digital. So what you do is you get a recording, and then you get it into a CD form or WMA or CDMA. I don't remember what the fuck. It's been God that long since I've even looked at a CD format. And then you put that into ones and zeros, and all that does is convert the wave, the peaks and valleys, into a digital ones and zeros. So we get these like digital ones, and we get these waves, but they're all ones and zeros. Now, it gets even more retarded when you start to compress the data, and that's when you start getting these weird artifacts of things that shouldn't be there. Like all MP3 was doing was it was taking that digital waveform and compressing it more by giving it an index into these assumed approximate values. But when you listen to an MP3, even in the best quality, if you're a really good audiophile, you can tell the difference. You really can tell the difference between uncompressed audio and MP3. Like there are these real problems that you get because like you're never getting with these digital values. You never get 100% as it was. It's not a 1-to-1. It's like a 1 to 99.99. It's never 100%. So analog, if they can get if you can get it up to like terahertz level, like where we need to be, like gigahertz is where all these start running into all these heat problems. Because like what is the upper limit, like 6 gigahertz? Like I'm not even sure if there are Intel Xenon processors that are pushing past that.
Yeah, you can really tell it's gone flat here for quite a while. There's no speed increases,
No,
and then the heat and the power is always an issue. They've really run up against the physical limits. Um,
which also leads me back to thinking maybe all of this might have been based off alien technology. Maybe that's all they gave us.
digital. Well, no, that's
Well, if you look,
it makes
actually,
sense. I mean, there's a long history there from the transistor on. It's just,
that was where I was going to go. Believe it or not, to the first product, if you look into the history of the first prototype of the transistor, it's a little sketchy. It's a little sketchy, and I've heard multiple podcasts about it. It didn't just come out of nowhere. Not Don't get me wrong, but if what Colonel Kuso or Colonel
Russo. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, he was
yeah the guy who wrote Day After Roswell, if what he was saying was true, is that they gave this technology into the right hands so it looked like it was a natural progression.
It could be. I mean, you had transistors, tubes being used as transistors. That was the original amplifier. So the whole amplification and how to amplify, and we can now transfer that to solid state. I mean, I that just it doesn't seem like a quantum leap. Now
Well,
if you
it
had
does
something all,
when you start
when you
getting into the silicon. The silicon didn't really exist until way later.
yeah, if all of a sudden you were like making anti-gravity drives in the 1950s, well then you would know something's up. It's like, hey, wait a minute, where did this quantum leap come from? You know,
Well, that's kind of
but from a tube to a transistor, I mean,
well, it's kind of how the original ARPANET was kind of like. Even I was like baffled, like how that kind of came out of nowhere. I understand that people have been trying to send packets of data back and forth, but there was probably I definitely think an ARPANET that came out of DARPA, which was the proto internet, was that probably did come out of somebody's UFO and fell out of their fucking wallet or something. Like that. I don't know. Like
well, that was they were communicating between colleges and
yeah,
certain military outfits. That's where with dedicated lines and all that. So I mean, there's another way. It's like, well, you can see this communications going on. It's just like a further, just a further developing of ideas that were already going on at collaborative and university levels, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we can make products and give that to everybody.
yeah,
I don't see it. To me, I mean, that's a jump in technology, but it's not like a quantum leap, like UFO tech or something, and then all of a sudden, you've got, well, even like say the stealth fighters. There was Russian papers on how to build, in math language of how to build a stealth fighter back in the 70s. That's where they first got the idea was. Now that looks futuristic and all, but at the
yeah. I
same
get.
time, you're still using jet engines and the same old tech. It's got a friggin' wing. I mean, come on, it's just shaped different.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that people they claim that they have UFO technology and stealth stuff, I just don't buy it. I don't.
I'm not seeing it. It's just like AI. Everybody's, oh, AI and the AI this, and it's just like I'm not even seeing the AI yet. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Uh, I,
that was one thing
I'm
I
not.
did. I did. I was there was a number 11 on the AI. I've noticed in the last. I test it out a couple times a week, and I've been noticing that AI, the at least the platforms I'm using for AI, I've noticed that it's scaled back its functionality. It's not even. It's not even like if I used to ask it a second time, you could tell that it was thinking, and now it's not even doing that. It's just spitting back garbage that you can find on the internet. And I don't know if they scaled that back because of the shareholders, but there does seem to be some sort of intervention in the public access AI that I've noticed. Because I'll tell you one thing, there are a lot of people that say they use AI in their daily jobs, or they do, and it's not true. It's 100% not true. There's only a few industries where this thing is actually going on, and more along the lines of what I'm doing. And I'm not seeing it. I'm not even seeing it being implemented. Even like they keep on trying to sell Cisco and Juniper have been trying to get these AI into their switches for like a fee, and they want to put IDS machines or intrusion detection systems with AI. That one I understand, but like and you're still not going to replace a person. Like these things are like not really prone and they're not worth the cost. Like there's no company that's going to put $1,000 fucking month service for your fucking security and your internet routing. Like nobody's gonna fucking no company's gonna fucking fork that out a month. You know, I just
Yeah.
I don't see it, and it's probably cheaper just to pay somebody to do it for you. I don't know. I I do see the advantage of like putting AI into the chip processors into some of the higher end chips are allowing some of these. There is very very basic AI that will change the way it's processing and heat and adjust to what is going on in the system. But other than that, I really don't see.
I think they've labeled the thing wrong. I mean, okay, at some point there might be artificial intelligence, but you shouldn't have called this artificial intelligence. You need to have called it something else because that's not what it is.
No,
I'm
yeah,
not sure what
it's
to call
not.
it, but it's an upgrade. You're getting better interactions, but yeah, it's still just like a jazzed up search engine that has all the faults of whoever's programming the damn search engine. Just
There are. I think the problem is that there are less people like me that are out there that actually work on the little itty bitty parts of these things and there are people that don't understand this and think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
yeah, but you can sell them anything. You throw some ads up, and if it's gimmicky and new, they'll jump on it. I mean, they know how to sell things to the sheep.
Yeah.
So everything's AI now.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can. Yeah. Well, it's like everything was Y2K. I mean, they just pick something. You got a hammer on it. Uh,
Oh, oh, did I tell you? Prions are back. Mad Cow.
yeah, I haven't heard that word in a while. I'm trying to think of what they were.
Prions are they're the one thing in this world that actually scare the shit out of me. Prions are not viruses and they are not bacteria. They don't even know if they're alive. We don't really know what a prion is, and we have a hard time. Like people, there are doctors out there that think that Alzheimer's and dementia are prion disease. And you can't tell until we like slice their brain open and see actually look under a microscope, see what's going on. But all prions are a type of protein that is in your brain in all mammals. And what it does is it's malformed and it's an instruction set to tell other prions that does somehow cross the blood-brain barrier in the digestive tract to start malforming the proteins in the next host brain. It's a scary as fucking disease. It's
Mm,
100% fatal.
yeah.
100% fatal.
Well, it's like those brain amoebas and shit like that. Some things you get, man, it's just you're sunk.
Yeah, and now this is all it's all going on the deer population in all the Midwest is like if you're listening to this and you're a hunter, like I don't know what to tell you. Don't eat deer. Don't eat any fucking deer. That's as far that's as far as we know about. Whatever animal eats a deer is probably infected too. So it's probably anything like bears and shit. But um now we're also avian bird flu is actually out of control on our dairy farms. The USDA is like doing undercover shit to see how far the spread is, but there's quite a few brands that are out there. A lot of it's tied to Walmart, actually. It's probably mean the meat is everywhere. But avian bird flu is in the contaminated. It's pro- I mean, what are they going to tell everybody? Everybody's going to get infected with avian bird flu, but like,
Well, this goes back to like using blood meal, regurgitated like cattle parts and recirculating them back into the food supply. The more you do that, the more contaminated that environment gets.
Oh yeah,
And that
like
kind of
these.
looks like what's happening here. You're having more and more problems, more and more diseases as you industrialize everything. And it's just, you're reaching it just like computers, you're reaching an upper limit of what you can do because you just can't force it to do anymore. It's
Oh
just,
yeah, that's not even a problem with these industrial farms. These industrial farms have huge problems with waste disposal. Huge problems with urine and feces removal. You know,
you know, it just,
it only
it's a bad thing to do. I mean, they're doing a lot of bad practices and having more and more trouble. I see why you might have to do that. If you're trying to stretch your food supply, but if that's the problem, then why are you shutting down farms and all the rest of this stupid shit? It's retarded.
it only makes sense. And I hate to say this, like maybe those fucking guys at the lab that were growing the meat was doesn't sound like a bad idea. You know, like I know the overhead cost is a lot, but you're not going to be destroying the environment and making food at the same time. Like all of these industrial farms are just doing everything fucking wrong, and they're not even, and they're all doing shit like wrong because the government's not fucking helping them out like they used to.
Yeah, they're getting in the way, and then they tell you that putting fluoride in your water and then taking iodine out of salt and other things. They're destroying your. They used to add stuff like that to help you. Now they don't. That tells you right there.
Yeah. Well, living where I
And enriched foods. You don't see
yeah,
much of that anymore.
that's another thing I was actually thinking about last week is yeah, enriched food made no sense to me, and people used to say a lot of weird stuff, like eating enriched processed food, like it goes on in this country, but when you travel internationally, you don't see it, and it makes absolutely no sense to me or a lot of people, frankly, um, who do even people work in the food industry. It doesn't make any sense to enrich anything. You're basically poisoning your own food. Literally, we don't. If you need thiamine, like go eat a multivitamin. But like you do, you don't need to put vitamins in milk and bread. Like what the fuck?
Well, I mean, I don't. I have to say, I think that was a better idea than taking it out. Um, it seemed to help. I mean, there was was I think oh yeah, when they started adding iodine, years ago, they saw an IQ increase when they first did that. Uh, but now, when you've got fluoride, taking it the other way, and then they take the iodine back out, you don't see iodine infused enriched anything anymore, and if anything, well now then this GMO crap, it's enriched with the wrong things. When they first started doing it, it kind of made sense, and it was very simple. It's like, well, we're just going to add vitamin D, or we're just going to add iodine, to different things, and then that was it. And you saw a gain from that. But now that you've got all these other GMO products, it's all distorted. I mean, that stuff's no good.
Yeah, I would say about 90% of what's in your grocery store is probably not good for you. 90% of it.
Yeah, what I think I'm seeing is just very low food value. It has a lot of sugar and a lot of carbs maybe, but you look at the other stuff, it's like, man, it's got like no nutrient value to speak
Oh,
of.
that's actually.
Yeah.
So you just said was wrong. Actually, believe it or not, sugar is very fucking healthy for you. It's fructose, sucrose, all of that. It's very healthy for you. You know what is not healthy for you? Corn syrup.
Well, that's true. Yeah, and then that's getting substituted for sugar now more and more. I mean, that's everywhere.
Yeah,
And that stuff's tied to nerve problems. And
yeah. Um,
so, yeah, it's just the food supply. You got to really watch. I mean,
yeah, there are some new sweeteners that are out there that a lot of people aren't keen to, but if you look into keto sweeteners, there's one out there that's really damn good. It's like they somehow were able to get like a non carbohydrate sugar out of grapes, which actually tastes pretty damn good. Kind of tastes like raisins no matter what you do, but it's actually pretty damn good. I've only seen it in a handful of price. It's probably not being mass produced because it's probably expensive to make.
yeah, a lot of these alternatives are, it's extremely expensive.
What else have we got going on?
Just try to use less. I mean, that's the. I mean, well, you need sugar to sweeten things up, but I mean, if you look at how much they put in this stuff nowadays, I mean, it's like, golly,
Oh yeah, when you look at a Coke and half of the carbohydrates are from sugar, like they get 40 grams of sugar in there, 40 grams of sugar. I'm like,
whoa,
yeah, like a can of Coke has like 40 grams.
yeah. I mean, that's just huge. It's like, you know, and and well, that's the thing. See, I mean, I remember the sugar industry. Now, this goes back probably to the 1940s and 50s, when they figured out, that people, what it really took to the amount of sugar it took to actually sweeten food to the point that people, liked was very low. But at the same time, you could add all this sugar and a lot of it and sell more sugar, and they would still put up with it. So that's what they started doing. Just everything's got this massive amount of sugar to it.
Yeah,
It's for the sugar industry. You got to think, you got to think about those guys. You got to make more money. It's not about your health.
really isn't actually.
They've proven that.
Yeah, I've actually probably lived a lot long. Like a lot of my friends, they never took care of their health, and I've always been out the Yahoo that's always been out there, doing whatever, make psychedelics or whatever. But I always balance it out with supplements that I know that have some scientific backing and multivitamins. I think there's got to be some like a lot of my friends feel like they're older than they are. And I'm like, you got to take care of yourself, but knowing how and what that looks like is different for everybody. And
Yeah.
maybe I was just kind of more in tune at a younger age. But like, there's got to be something to some of these supplements, like fish oil. Fish oil every day is pretty damn good for you. Trust me. I don't care what is going on with you. They're probably good. A daily multivitamin, even the cheap shit, is probably better than nothing. Most people don't eat. Most people don't get everything they need, and just getting like a multi mineral, like those three things, like, and they're pretty dirt cheap. Like the minimal amount of dollars, because you don't really. I mean, you can pay more for those kind of things, but you're not getting higher quality anything.
Yeah, I agree. And then the older you get, you have to supplement because you don't absorb anything anymore, and it just gets that much tougher. And it's
Oh yeah, it's like the average Americans, what is it, they don't get enough choline in their diet. So I mean, like that would be probably one thing they should probably um sorry, I was drawing.
what, processed products or what?
Yeah, yeah. Oh god.
Hmm.
Well, I gotta
Well,
stop. I guess I gotta stop the podcast.
all right. Well, you got a good one going here. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, we'll be next week. We'll meet on the what is it? On the let's do the 16th. We go from there.